Hey folks, Craig Ripley here. Welcome to another edition of Living Off the Slab. Now, if you remember from a few videos back, I had got out all of my camping gear to check it out to make sure that it was going to be in good shape for this 2016 riding season. Because myself and my buddies who are planning on heading to Alaska next July, about a year from now, we wanted to start doing some practice camping trips because while we've all camped before in the past, it's been a number of years. I know for me, I think the last time I did it was something like 2007. So I wanted to get out all my gear, make sure that it still worked, see if I needed to buy anything new, and also figure out the best way to pack so that it would make it easy for ourselves out there on the road. So what we've decided to do, that is myself and the other guys who are involved in this Alaska trip, we decided to start taking some weekend trips just to head out to local areas, 3 or 4 hours away, and start doing some practice camping to get used to setting up our tents and all of that stuff. So the first time what we did was actually came over to my house here. We camped out in our backyard for a night. We got a nice little fire pit over here and we lit that up and we just kind of hung out for a little bit, set up our tents and all of that stuff. And it was good that we did because we really learned a lot on how to set those things up most efficiently. And me in particular, I had to restring all of my tent poles because the elastic shock cord had worn out. So it's a good thing that we did that in my backyard and not out there in the state park where we ended up going to. After leaving my house on Saturday morning, we headed up into Vermont to Molly Stark State Park, which if you're ever up in that area and you want a nice place to stay, this is a really nice little campground, very clean, bathroom facilities are available, and we ran into some really great people. I mean, campers are awesome people. They're really willing to share and so forth, much like motorcycles. On the way up to Molly Stark, we decided to jump on what's called the Puppy Dog Trail that runs up through the state of Vermont. And it's a route that some folks have put together many years back, and it does a combination of back roads and little dirt and gravel roads and winds its way all up through Vermont. So we jumped on a little bit of that because neither of the guys that I'm riding with have been off-road before, so we decided to kind of get their feet wet a little bit. And I haven't done that much. I've just taken one class, but I tried to kind of share with them everything that I have learned and also get them used to riding on gravel and dirt roads, to standing up, to how to counterbalance the bike and so forth. So we worked on that all the way up to Vermont. After leaving Molly Stark, we decided to throw in some more dirt roads. We headed up to State Road 71, or Forest Road 71, I think it is, in Vermont. It heads up through some primitive campgrounds. So it was a really nice road. Nothing really rough. It said gravel, it's dirt. But still, it gave us some experience on how to handle these big bikes while they're all loaded down, not on a paved surface. This was so the first time any of us had done it, with the bikes loaded down and on sort of gravel or non-paved surface. So for our second camping experience, we headed out after work on a Friday afternoon about 4:30, and we headed to western Massachusetts to Grandville State Forest, which is again another state park. So it should have been about a maybe 2.5 hour ride, but it ended up being 4.5 hours because we just ran into traffic. We ended up stopping for dinner because it was getting so late. And then on top of that, it started pouring. I mean, just torrential rain just before we got to the park. And then by that time, of course, it was dark, and my GPS told me that the park headquarters was half a mile down the road from where it actually was, so we had to turn around in the middle of the road at night and then come back up to the park headquarters. So we finally have all found it and we got situated, but let me tell you, it's a lot easier to set up camp and find your camping spot if it's light out. However, even though it was dark when we set up, we still made it through. We still got our camp set up and we basically went straight to bed, and it pretty much rained on us all night. Luckily, it had slowed down by the time we were setting our tents up, so it was just kind of a drizzle. But it pretty much drizzled like that on us and rained off and on all night long. But when we got up in the morning, the sun was shining and everything was a lot drier, so it turned out to be a great day. So after packing up and getting back out on the road from Grandville State Forest, we headed up what is called the Transmass Trail, which, like the Puppy Dog Trail, which I mentioned earlier, is a mixture of back roads, secondary roads, and dirt and gravel roads. And that was actually really nice. We found a lot of great roads through some beautiful scenery going through Massachusetts, and we found some sections of the trail that were more challenging than we were expecting. But we and our bikes made it through just fine. These big bikes work great. Just stay off the rocks, but as long as you did that, it was pretty nice. We had a great time and said some beautiful riding. As I had mentioned, the reason we were doing these practice camping trips was so that we can learn the best ways to pack our bikes, to set up our camps, just get used to the whole process. Because if we're going to head to Alaska next year, we're going to be doing this for 30 days. All right, so we really need to be proficient and be used to this whole process of, breaking down your campground every day, setting it up every evening, and so forth. So we really wanted to get proficient at that. So I thought that what I would do is share with you some of the things that we have learned over these couple of practice camping trips. So if you remember from that first video when I got all my camping gear out, I was trying to figure out what the best configuration for my bike would be, at least what would work best for me. And I think this is what I've come up with. After trying this for a couple of times, I think this is what is going to work. Right, of course, I've got my panniers down below that I can fill with tools and any electronic gear that I want to carry, food, things that I need to be, locked up. But up on top, I'm going to carry 3 bags. I'm going to carry a dry sack on both sides like this, and a larger dry sack here up on top. And I've played around with what am I going to put in these dry bags, what am I going to put in my panniers. Well, again, after doing this for several nights, testing it out, I think that all of us have learned that the best thing to do is to limit the number of times that you have to get in and out of those panniers, because it quite honestly gets to be a pain in the butt. Right? You don't want to touch them unless you absolutely have to, because you have to unlock them, lock them, and all this kind of stuff. Because unfortunately, while these SW Motuck bags are awesome bags, the one complaint that I have about them is that you can't leave them unlocked. You pretty much have to lock them up every time that you take the key out of it. It's really kind of a pain, but it's the way it is. Other than that, they're great bags. So I think that this is the best setup for me. And what I've learned that when you get to a camp, especially if you get to the camp late or in the dark like we did, you don't want to go rumbling through those panniers to try to find stuff. So you're going to take, at least I'm going to take, all of my camping equipment, and it's going to go up on top of the bike in these dry bags. In one bag, I'm going to have my sleeping pad in there. Also my tent poles and my tent stakes will be in there because they fit in nicely with that long rolled up sleeping pad. On the other side, in this bag, bring this up, this is going to have my tent in it. Right, I've got my tent broken down into 3 pieces, each in a separate dry bag inside of here, so that if one thing like my ground cloth gets wet, it's not going to contaminate the other things with water. So each one is in its own dry sack, and it's stuffed inside of this bag, and it'll go on top of the other pannier. Now in this big bag here, well, that's got my sleeping bag in it. I also can fit my camp chair and my camping cot, which we'll touch on here in a little bit. All those can go right in here, along with some other things like my towel, and also I can fit my pillow that goes in here, and actually I have room for a few other things if I want to. I'm actually considering maybe getting one size larger up on this bag. This is a D38 or 38 liter. They make a 50. I'm actually thinking about going to the 50. because that way I could get my sleeping bag in more easily. It's a little bit of a challenge to get in this bag right now, but it does fit. And then I can fit a few other things that I need for camping. That is setting up my campsite right up here in this top bag. So why set it up this way? Why do I think this is the best way to do it? Well, that's because everything that I need to set up my campsite is right here on top. I don't need to get into the panniers at all. I get the tent out, throw it on the ground, throw my sleeping bag in there, set my camp chair up, set my cot up. Everything is ready to go. Then I can sit and relax for a minute before I even have to start getting into these panniers. Because as I said, it can be a pain in the butt getting things in, getting them out. It can be a real pain. So putting all of the campsite stuff up here on the top in these dry bags, I think is going to make it a lot easier and a lot more efficient. So the last video I did when I was starting to set all this stuff up, I didn't go into how I was going to tie these bags down, and a lot of people asked about that question. So I thought I would go into them here. See, these dry spec bags from Twisted Throttle, they do come with their own strap system here, which is just a nylon kind of cord here with a quick release buckle. One goes on each side and they clip together. So it's really easy and really nice, so I could just use those. Right, the other option is I have some rock straps, which I can actually hook on here over the top of the bag to keep it on as well. Both of those straps can be run underneath these vinyl, like little keeper hooks here, so that you can run your straps right underneath, and that keeps it on really nice. Either one's a good option. I will say though, with the rock strap, while they're really a great strap, it's tough to get them through the SW Motec eyelets down here that are on the bag. You've got to work at it a little bit. So this would not be a setup that you're going to be taking on and off really easily. Once you get them on, you're probably going to want to leave them there. Now that's probably going to be the case when you're out there on the road. You're probably never going to take them off. So I probably will go with that in the long run because I think they're a little nicer strap, but either one works very well. So as far as this larger D38 dry spec bag, it comes also with a really cool retention system. So I'm going to come in close here and show you how it works. First of all, there's a nice nylon strap that hooks on to your rack, and then there's a little metal buckle right here that would go through this nylon D-ring, and then that hooks right in there, and then you just pull that down tight. And there are one of those on each corner, so there are 4 of them, and it really holds the bag nice and securely, and it's really easy to put on and off. To get it off, you just lift the buckle up there, and then you can pull that thing right out, and away you go. Now, of course, an alternative would again be to get a set of rock straps, just hook it on here, and go over the top of the bag. Either way would work. So let's get into a couple of other things that we have learned while doing these practice camping trips. And one, a lot of people suggested that we get a camp chair, right? And they've been absolutely correct. This is a lifesaver, because after you've been riding all day, the last thing you want to do is be sitting on the ground or pulling your panniers off and using your panniers for a seat. So investing in this little camp chair, which I think runs about $79, I ended up getting the REI version. There was 2 of them that I was looking at. It was either this from REI or the one from Helinox, or a lot of people mentioned the Kermit chair. Well, it turned out the ones that were easily available to me that I could actually go and try out were either the Helinox or the REI camp chair. So going down to REI, since we have a couple here locally, I did that, tried out the chair, and decided to go with it. Now, these camp chairs, they work great, and they're actually quite comfortable, but you do need to remember a couple of things. One, if you go over 250 pounds, well, they're not going to hold you very well. I go about 215, so, you know, I have a few pounds left, but I'm pushing it a little bit. Also, there's not a whole lot of side-to-side stability here. You want to refrain from doing that. Also, in the really soft ground, the feet don't hold very well. They will sink in. I've heard some people actually take tennis balls and they cut tennis balls and put them on the end, and that seems to help out a whole lot. But as long as you keep your feet out in front of you, you can lean back, pretty well and be nice and comfortable, and even take a little nap in the chair. So again, they're good as long as you realize they're a really light chair and they're just made to relax a little bit in. Okay, not a lot of motion needs to go along in them, or you're going to end up on your butt. Also, these things assemble and disassemble really easily. Right? All you do is just pull this off of here on all four corners. You're going to fold it in half because you're going to use it again. And then all of these legs are all on shock cords. So all you need to do is fold it all up. And then it fits right back in the bag. Very easily, and that's all it takes to set it up and take it down. And it weighs a couple of pounds, 2.5 pounds or so, and that's about all the room it takes up. So really easy, really nice and light, a great accessory if you're going to do some motorcycle camping. Probably the biggest thing that we learned on these trips so far is that you need to get a good night's sleep. If you can't sleep, then you just are going to feel like shit the next day. I mean, there's no getting around it. You need to get a good night's sleep. Now, that first camping trip, myself and my buddy Peter, we had these blow-up air mattresses that we thought were going to be pretty comfortable. But let me tell you, they weren't. I mean, you can't stay on them. You end up rolling off of them. They move around on you. They make a lot of noise. It was absolutely horrible, and neither one of us slept very well at all. Whereas my other buddy, Steven, he decided he was going to buy himself a cot. And so he did that and threw his air mattress on top of the cot, and he slept great. So we started thinking, maybe we should look into investing in a cot. So that's exactly what we did. We went out and we got the same cot that Steven is using, and that is the Thermarest ultralight cot. And let me just show you how easy it is to put it together. It takes about, probably 5 or 10 minutes to put together, but it really makes a big difference in your quality of sleep that you get while you're out there on the road. Flip it over, and there you've got your cot. Now, these cots are very lightweight. They weigh about 2 or 3 pounds. So you have to understand that there are certain things that you can or cannot do on these cots. And that is, you can't put a lot of weight on these outer edges. Right? When you get on and off these cots, you really want to either roll onto it or you want to sit in that supported section and then get on this way. Same thing when you get off, right? Kind of roll on and off and try to refrain from putting a lot of weight on these bars. Along with the cot, instead of a really thick air mattress, I've just gone with one of the self-inflatable air mattresses. Again, this is an REI brand. It takes about 20 breaths. I mean, you open it up and it will inflate some degree by itself, but you need to blow it up a little bit. So just 20 nice light breaths and you'll get this all blown up. All right, so and that's it. Now your bed is ready to go. You throw your sleeping bag on top of it and you're all set. And let me tell you, this is so much more comfortable than trying to sleep on the ground or on the air mattress by itself or on one of those thick air mattresses. This is awesome. I've had really great night sleeps, both the 2 nights that I used it. You can sleep on your back, on your side, on your stomach, any way that you want to sleep, and you're really nice and comfortable. Good night. All right, guys, that's about it for this video. As usual, I'll have a blog that accompanies this video with links to all of these products that I'm using, how to find them if you're interested in them. Also, remember that if you're going to get some of these Twisted Throttle bags and so forth, please do so through my website. We just get a little commission on it, and it really helps out to keep these videos coming. So thanks again, and be safe out there. We'll see you next time.